Our next guest is one of the most successful YouTubers and creators out there. His educational channel called Crash Course has more than 14 million subscribers, and he recently launched a new program called Study Hall, which provides foundational courses that students can receive for college credit. Please welcome Hank Green to the South by Southwest EDU studio.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to meet you. It's very cool and a little, I don't know, a lot of the last few days have felt a little bit disconnected from reality for me. So I'm just continuing that theme.
Well, you're on camera now and you're a YouTuber, so does that...
Oh yeah, I am used to the cameras at least. That's nice. I'm not used to you being here. That's not normal.
Well, you're here at South by Southwest to talk about Study Hall.
Yeah.
You launched this with Arizona State, and you can actually get college credit via YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, yes. So the idea is we've have over the course of the last year plus been releasing these YouTube videos, unbeknownst to anyone with another plan in mind. So you can watch the videos, they're on YouTube, the whole course is up there. But if you would like to be a part of a course, you can sign up to $25, and then you're inside of this system that has instructors, it has peers, you all start on the same day, you finish on the same day like a class. It's a typical online learning experience. And then at the end of that, if you think that we did a good job teaching you and you like your grade, you can pay for college credit. That's from Arizona State University. It's taken anywhere that takes ASU college credits, which is hundreds of institutions across the US.
How did you get started with this?
I mean, so back in 2007, my brother and I started making goofy YouTube videos. And then we kind of made an agreement that we would make one every weekday for a year.
Every single weekday?
Well, we got to trade off days, so there's two of us. So I'd have a 2-day week and then I'd have a 3-day week, but yes. And so when you're in that sort of creative environment, you'll make a video about whatever pops into your mind. So at one point I was like, I guess I'll talk about the circulatory system, which was different from my usual content, which was like making love songs to Helen Hunt. And so the circulatory system video did very well. People liked it, and I felt like it did like more good than my average video, but it was a lot harder to make. So we kind of shelved the idea until YouTube came along in 2011 and said, what if we gave you some money, what would you make? And we were like, I think we'd make some like high quality educational YouTube videos. So from there, that's where Crash Course came from. And the process of trying to figure out what to do with that once it was successful was a little bit overwhelming, and it took a long time to figure out kind of what the next cool thing we wanted to do was.
What's been the feedback so far?
Oh, for Study Hall, really great. I mean, people like it. I think everyone knows that like two things are true. Like higher ed is very valuable for individuals and society. People should learn about their world and learn how to learn and have tools with which to interface with other people and atoms and electrons, and that's good for everybody. But also true is that it keeps getting more expensive every year faster than inflation for like decades.
Yes.
And at some point, the problem will arise that if we keep doing that, if we keep making it more expensive every year, there will be a point at which for most people it isn't worth it. So you have to look at that problem and see it as terrifying as it is, and let that inspire you to try and create solutions. And there are a lot of people working really hard to try and create those solutions, and I get to work with a lot of them, and that's very cool.
Well, you're doing this right now with ASU. Do you hope to use other universities as well?
Well, the nice thing about an ASU college credit is that they're a giant state publicly funded research university, and so those dollars or those credits get accepted all over the place. Mm-hmm. And what I do want to say, and like, I don't know, that's an overwhelming thought. There are a lot of universities and I wouldn't know how to pick, but what I hope very much is that people look at what we do and say, what's our version of that?
Right.
Like what could we do that's even better than that? Because if we're not getting inspired by each other and pushing each other, and like that's how actual change happens, that's how creation happens.
All right, so for actual change, the king for a day question, what would you do if you were president about student debt?
Oh, I mean, so I think it's very important to recognize that there's the existing student debt problem and there's the future student debt problem. There's like the students who are about to go into school and the debt problem that they will have in the future. So I absolutely think there are lots of smart ways to take on the existing student debt problem. And I am not like mad about the steps that we've gotten done in the last couple of years. But I also think that we need to think hard about how we're funding schools. Like state-based schools just aren't getting the funding they used to get. And that's just not a vote of confidence for America and Americans. It's just silly. It's obviously bad. And so like there should be far more student assistance than there is right now. And that means like paying for students' educations because we know that that's going to be good for the country in the future. So like the thing I do to take on student debt isn't just to take on the student debt that exists right now, but you have to be thinking about the problem of accessibility now and people who are thinking to themselves, you know, $8,000 in, I can't afford this. And
Right.
then they have $8,000 of debt and no degree, which is a lot of people. That's like nearly 50% of people with student debt aren't going to get degrees. That's the scariest thing.
Do you think higher education altogether needs an overhaul?
I mean, I think that like to some extent, there are, there are big things that could be better for education in total in the country. One of the things that we really have to interface with as Americans is that we based school funding on property taxes. So if the houses in a neighborhood are more expensive, the schools in that neighborhood get more money. Just say that out loud once a month and like see if you think that we're doing all we can. And there are places that have tried to figure out ways to make that system more equitable. And we need to be doing that all over the country in every state. And it's messy because it's state by state, it's county by county. But we need to be doing that because to get higher education more accessible, high schools in America have to be equitable, and they're just not.
Well, it sounds like with your YouTube channel, you're adding a little equity here.
That's the hope. Yeah, that's the hope.
I mean, how have your videos sort of evolved over the years?
Oh, I mean, the great thing about making YouTube videos is that you upload them and then they're on the internet the next day and people tell you what they think. And that allows for a huge amount of evolution. And we're all getting inspired by each other all the time. So somebody will come up with something, maybe brand new creator, I'd never even seen him before, and be like, oh man, I got to change what I'm doing. Like that's so smart. That's such a good way to tell a story and to get an idea into somebody else's heads. And sometimes I even learn from people I don't like what they're saying, but I love how they're saying it. And I'm like, I got to learn from everybody, you know? So I'm always looking out, and because of that, you know, it continues to change all the time. I can't even say how. Like, go watch a video of mine from 2012, but don't, because it's so cringy.
I hear you. I hear you. I watched my first episodes on Mythbusters to the last. It's just, oh God, stop
every
talking.
first episode is bad.
So bad.
Every first episode is bad. It's not Mythbusters, it's everything. You go watch the first season of Star Trek TNG and you're like, who are you people?
Who are
You're not even playing your character yet. You don't know who you are.
Gotta grow into it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you were making videos with your brother John Green since 2007, like you said. What was the original inspiration?
John was super into weird online video projects back then. This was a little bit right when YouTube starting to exist, so some of these weren't even on YouTube. I mean, you could count like Strong Bad among them. Like Homestar Runner's like Flash is kind of online video pre anybody having enough bandwidth to download a video. And but there was this project called Lonely Girl 15, I think was the number after it, that was really weird and turned out to be fictional, but it seemed like it wasn't at first. And that it was like a ARG basically. And then there was a Frank who was making these videos, kind of creating the format of the video blog, uploading them on his own website, and creating a community around it. You know, it wasn't about like the video, it was about the comment section. It was about like, he was like, what if we could make the earth a sandwich and like we could put a piece of bread on exactly opposite sides of the earth, which turns out to be very hard because it's mostly water. So how do we make Earth into a sandwich? Like, there's enough people watching these videos now that we could probably do that. And it took weeks, but they did make the Earth a sandwich. And we were like that, like, this is gonna change everything. Like, we didn't care about Hollywood or videos, and it's been a fairly freeing thing, because we still don't. And so it was just like, what was really interesting to me is, like, what if you're around for, like, I Love Lucy, like the beginning of television? Like, what if you could see that and be a part of it? That was so exciting. And so, like, even if in the beginning, when there was, you know, $0 to be made and no credibility to be had, it just was like, this is the coolest thing possible to be part of.
That's the freedom right there,
Yeah.
when you just don't care and you can make what your heart wants you to
Yeah.
make.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you choose your topics now? Like, where do you get your inspirations?
Just like when you know you have to make a video every week. We're still doing this. We still make one. We each make one video a week now, not 5.
Practically retirement.
Yeah.
My gosh.
But when you're walking around all day with that weight, knowing that Thursday's going to come around and I'm going to have to make a video, there's something happens. You know, my video that I'm making tomorrow is about like whether it's scary or hopeful that we haven't found aliens.
I have that question all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, I think about it a lot, but I've never made a video about it. So I'm like, yeah, I should talk about that.
That's a
I'd like
conversation
to
starter
argue.
right there.
Yeah, I'd like to argue. Yeah, you're like, all right.
All right.
Interview
What do you
changed.
think?
There's a lot to. I think that in general, I think people find it kind of scary, because it either means they're hiding from us because there's something scary out there, or maybe it means that civilizations don't last long, and that's a depressing thought. Maybe it means that we are alone, and that's also kind of depressing. That there's just like, maybe it's just that rare for humans to happen, for like a living system of chemistry to begin to know itself. You know, like maybe that's very rare. And I have a fourth option that I like quite a lot.
What's that?
Which is that maybe at some point, like, all life now will take up the given space, whether it's a bacteria or a kangaroo or a human. Like, we'll take up all the space you give us. But maybe we're like starting to live through this right now, something smart enough doesn't do that. It figures out a way where, like, quality is better than quantity. And so they just don't take up very much space, so we don't see them.
Well, that's really nice and optimistic and sweet.
That video will be out on Friday.
Okay, okay. I personally go with the Porno for Pyros, Perry Farrell, we'd make great pets. So no, I am cool with the aliens staying away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want them coming here.
No,
if
that's
they can
very
get
scary.
here,
It's definitely good news that they're not here, because if things do take up the available space, we are part of available space.
or we're
And
food.
that's not great. I don't want to be part of somebody else's available space.
Okay, back to you. So what sort of statistical data do you have? Can you quantify how much crash course videos have improved student performance? What school subjects do you see that benefit the most?
That's a great question, and we don't. It's something that, so Crash Course, until this study hall project, has very much been disconnected from the education industry intentionally. So what we say is, here's this, it's very good and it's free. Goodbye. Do what you will with it. And if students use it, it's because they want to, and they think it's useful. If teachers use it, it's because they want to, they think it's useful. And nobody's forcing anybody or trying to sell the school board or the administrators on it and get them to buy it. We're just like, it's free, it's good, use it if you want to. And that's been very successful, except for the part where it's very hard to make money. So thank you, everybody who's ever supported Crash Course over the years. We're funded by advertising and grants and by crowdfunding. So a huge portion of our funding is people giving us money because they think that what we do is good, which I agree with. So thank you to them.
Funded by passion.
Yeah.
I know you're talking about aliens on your next one, but are there any subjects that are off limits for you? Oh,
sure. I had a couple come to mind that I don't even want to say in this room. We've thought about doing a, Is this live? Because that was
not, but we're not editing, so.
Oh, great. So it's live to tape, in which case everybody saw that whole move. You know, I think that we've thought about doing sex ed before, which is really tricky. You know, there's a couple of topics where kind of everybody has the idea of what there's like a perfect way that it could be, and but everybody's perfect way is different from everybody else's, and that's the touchy topics. So we've thought about doing that, and I think it could do a lot of good, but it's also tricky. And there's a lot of people doing it well also already on YouTube. And then, yeah, so as far as like crash course topics, you know, there are things that are extra hard to do without a classroom environment. So language is like that, where it's, you know, we're trying to like fit an hour of information into 10 to 15 minutes. You can't do that with practicing language. So, and there's also, again, a lot of great language learning tools out there that take into account the specific needs of that teaching. So we've never done that, and there's been lots of internal arguing about whether we should.
Well, you've got a huge variety of subjects right now. So where do students and educators that are like new to your work, where do they start?
There aren't any of those.
Okay, good.
I'm not worried about it. It's at youtube.com/crash course. And it was, yeah, I did not realize for a while, because we've been making these things for over a decade now, I did not realize for a while how much it was used. And it's been so interesting because like the students found out about it before the teachers, and the teachers found out about it before the administrators. And there are still a lot of like, you know, principals and presidents who don't know about Crash Course. Whereas usually those people kind of find out about the new products first because they're being sold them by sales teams. But I like doing it this way. Going from the bottom up has been very good.
I guess it gives you a little more leeway because...
It certainly does. The teachers don't have all the same requirements that the school boards and the administrators do.
Now, if you could have your fantasy video, I'm saying no limits, all the money, some really rich person comes in and goes, do what you want, build what you want, say what you want. What would be your dream video? I mean,
so like, it is about money and it's not. It's not about production values, but it is about finding the best ways into a topic. And we asked that question. Like, that's the perfect question to ask to anybody on our team. They love to hear that. They're like, it's like, what's the best history course? What would the best history course be? And their eyes light up. And yeah, so we think about that a lot. And people have lots of disagreements. But chemistry is my background. Nobody gives chemistry its due. It's the best subject and everybody hates it. And so I would love to do a long video or a series of videos that is the history of chemistry.
Okay.
But you never hear about a person. It's instead of like going through the history of chemistry as it happened, you say, let's create chemistry from scratch. Let's start knowing, like, forget about atoms, forget about molecules. You don't know why you need to breathe every 15 seconds. Like, if you don't breathe for 3 minutes, you'll die. And for the vast majority, when America was invented, nobody knew why. People knew that if they stopped breathing, they'd die, but had no idea why. For the whole history of humanity, until the late 1700s, we had no idea why we had to breathe. Wild fact, right? So forget you know why you have to breathe. Invent chemistry from scratch. Let's do it together. Let's be humanity together and try and create knowledge. And I think it was Richard Feynman who said that, like, if you pass any piece of human knowledge on at like post-apocalypse, it would be atomic theory. So like, get that to the people and they can rebuild.
You are so passionate. I can tell this would be your dream.
Totally
I'm going to give you what is my nerdiest Wi-Fi. It's Wi-Fi. It's wireless. Bam! Ugh. All right. Hank, thank you for coming by the studio today, and thank you all for watching. You can check out our daily schedule of interviews on our website, schedule.SXSWEDU.com. And you can watch all of our studio interviews on the South by Southwest EDU TV app and on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@SXSW EDU.